In this video, I'm going to walk you through how I am organizing for Math Map this next year. I am a Challenge A director. I have a student who's a Challenge A student in my class, and I've spent the last few months learning all about the Math Map, and I feel like this is probably going to be the best system, at least for us. So when you first get your packet, the Math Map packet, it's going to look like this, and of course the only one for sale this year is Complex, which is the Challenge A level, so that would be pretty much 7th grade. And it will come with all of the booklets bound in here. You can see the little booklets with their staples. And so that's all in here, all 30 booklets. And I want to show you how we organized it. So there's a few that I have left in booklet form, and I'll go through those in a bit. But for the most part, we separated out everything. So I have here a 3-ring binder, and I happen to have this one at the house, and it's only 2.5 inches. I would definitely recommend going to a 3-inch binder because this is really tight for now. And so this will be fine for my version, but for my student who's not going to be quite as gentle with, pulling this back and forth, I'm going to get a 3-ring binder that is 3 inches for her when I pull apart her items and organize them in the same way. So all I have here is the cover that was on the packet. I guess I could have put that in the front if I had one of those clear parts on the front of the binder. And don't worry, you are not bringing this to Community Day, so you are not going to have to lug this super heavy item with you every day. All they are bringing is the current week that they are on and the last week that they had previously been on. So for week 1, they will just come here and do 1. And then for week 2, they will bring their week 2 booklet and their week 1 that they had completed and worked on that previous week. So that is the way that the system works. There are 30 weeks to correspond with the 30 weeks of challenge, and there's these really nice divider tabs that coordinate for months. And so it's 1 through 31 because the months could go up to 31. And so that worked perfectly for us because we need it up to week 30. And so I just got some of those dividers. I think the one I ended up using, is just an Avery one. You could even run this through a printer and print the names of the different weeks. If you want, I just took what was on the back of the Math Map packet and did a 3-hole punch and stuck that in here. So when it comes to the actual week, let me show you what this looks like. I took the binders, so these are the booklets. I took the staples out. I took out the charts, I took out the solutions, and then I went through and ran this through a paper cutter to cut off this little edge. And I still need to do that on some of these. They're all cut and they all fit in the one book, in this one binder, but they'll fit a little bit better if I cut these little edges where it kind of, folds over and does this little bulge right here. So this is what it looks like. You have your first page with the artwork, the essay with the thoughts on it. They're always pointing out what domain and dimension they're in. And then you have your I-frame pages. Oh, I'm so sorry. My puppy upstairs is trying to get one of his toys. Okay, so you have the I-frame pages, and then you start going through and have the lesson pages. So they're ideally doing 4 pages a day on here. And then the next day, they're doing the next 4 pages. So 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the next day, they're doing 4 more pages and so on. And then I put on this same week, I put the solutions in here. So she could take these out and use these to help answer the questions or to check her work. And then the other part to these are the charts. And so when you first open a packet, it has corresponding charts to it. And there are 4 charts, so it's 2 pages on the front and back. So like week 2, it tells you right here it's 2. It also tells you down here chart 2. There'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. So every week has 4 charts, and they correspond to the work that they're doing for the week. And so this is really handy to have separate from the packet where you're student is actually filling out and doing all the work, because they want to be able to reference this and look at this to help them fill out and understand the information that they're completing over here. They also might want the answers, and you can definitely work backwards and use the answers to come back. I'm envisioning that my students might have to use a lot of the answer sheet in the first day, but by the time they've gone through it a time or maybe two, they'll be great to do it on their own and be able to do that for the last few days of the week. And so the charts are in here. I put them in page protectors. They're going to get these copies of these charts again next year when they move up to the next level of the math map. So you don't need to keep them in perfect condition, because they'll receive these exact same charts the next year. But it does make it easier to flip through these when they're in the page protectors. And I actually envision that my younger kid who's in Foundation and Essentials will be able to use the one chart book, and then the other chart book will be for my Challenge A kid, because my kiddo who is in Foundation and Essentials, I'm having her work through fractions this next year. And so what I did for her is I printed out all the weeks, which you can do in the companion. And so you can see here, I have the weeks printed. I printed the first artwork page because I thought we might discuss this, but I didn't print the essay that comes right after this, because I didn't need 2 copies of that. And as it cost quite a bit to print this all up in color. I did ours single-sided because I didn't want a lot of bleed through with a double-sided page. And I wanted it kind of nice and clean for her. But what that meant is that this is first semester. I didn't reprint out Ex Nihilo the first week because it's kind of different from the other weeks. So this is 2 through 14, and you can see it is probably 2 inches thick. I printed it out, and then I had a company print it out. And printing all of these weeks out with all of the solutions cost me about $67. So if you just bought the big complex when it was on sale for $79, trust me, you're not paying much more than CC probably had to pay to get this printed out. And then it cost me $5 to take it over to FedEx and have them do the binding. And so we have the first semester, like I said, weeks 2 through 14. And then I have second semester, which is just weeks 16 through 29. And you may have noticed, and then I have the solutions separate because I can envision her needing to maybe work with some of the solutions to answer some of the questions and decide what she needs to do. The fractions are also nice if you have a student who is struggling with what they're needing to answer on their complex work, and for some reason the charts aren't helping or the solutions aren't helping. I can't imagine that wouldn't be the case, but you also have the companion online to help give answers. And if there's still something where you're like, wow, we really aren't getting the concept, go back to one of the lower levels. So you can go back to fractions. We went through and did the naturals, my kids and I, this summer. So we started it in the spring. And so we've been working through the 4-page spreads of the naturals, and that's given us some familiarity with some of the terms that we didn't know before this, and that's been really helpful. So for my fractions kids, I kept the solutions separate. I made little books for her where she has all 16 of the work pages and the artwork, and so that's what she's going to go through for the year. And then we can drill flashcards together. Let me show you what those look like. I bought the notations and the fractions. I didn't feel like they needed the addition at this stage, and I don't know, I didn't think about doing the multiplication, but I'm questioning that. I think I actually might want to do that. But the notations are nice because you'll have a notation, ignore what's on the bottom because that actually corresponds to the next page, and then this is what's telling you what this part of the flashcard is about. So your kids can quiz themselves. I'm envisioning actually kind of working through this with my kiddos and being able to hold it up to them and do it like that so that they're not seeing what's on the lower part, and then I'll have the solution or the answer of what that item is. And it's just getting them used to the notations that are in all this math work that we probably haven't seen since college, or maybe have never seen at all. And now our kids are going to see it. So having your flashcards handy are nice. They come in these little easy to transport and bring around packets. and then having this and only having to bring to community the week that you need. Now I wanted to show you, I kept a few of the weeks bound, and I did that for weeks 15, 30, and 29. So actually in each of these, they did have charts. And so I opened them up, and I very carefully, because these little staples break super easily, but I very carefully lifted that out and got the charts out of here and put them in our chart book. So the chart book has the charts for weeks 15, 30, and 29. But then I kept the booklets together, and the reason I did that is because these two, 15 and 30, are the blue books. And so I would envision that I'm probably going to have them fill out information in here as part of their blue books. I don't know, it might be something printed out. Haven't thought too much about blue books yet, but that's what week 15 and 30 are. And then week 29 is kind of unusual because it's the seen, the unseen. So the concept here is as they're going through their whole school year, they're thinking about ways that they see mathematics in the world, and they see God in mathematics. And so they're able to add those details on here. And so I envision them bringing this, having this in their school bag, having this with them all the time, so that if something strikes them, they're at the zoo or they're at a museum and they realize that they're seeing something with mathematics, they can easily add this in here. So for sure, it's going to go in with their weekly work, but I want them to have this accessible and just keep it as one packet. And you can see I've started writing something about box gardens because that was something we were working on, and it made me think of mathematics. So those three are the packets I left intact, but otherwise everything else has been pulled out, so that the work pages are in here, the solution pages are at the end, and our charts are in their own separate book that's held together by page protectors. So hopefully this was helpful. I'll do another video to kind of walk through how I envision using the math map throughout the week, but just wanted to give you an idea of how you might think about organizing your math map material.